PK family? My name's Nonstop Parkour, and today I got a tutorial for you on the double Kong. So now, let's get to it, as always. So like most vaults, you'll need a good amount of speed for this move. Just no stutter steps, no strides, anything like that. And for the takeoff, you're gonna wanna do a gather step, specifically a gather step, because a punch will not be as useful in this move. Now the reasoning behind that is because with a gather step, you can transfer slowly all of that momentum into your hands and then get a lot of height off of that first push. If you do a punch, you're not really using this first touchdown, you're kind of just going over it and then tapping it. So gather step, that's what you want to do. As you can see, doing a gather step enables you to keep your chest close to the object so you can push off of it. Whereas if you use a punch, it will throw your chest over the object, keeping you from being able to get a good push off of the first hand placement. And then once you do that gather step, that 1-2, you're gonna have your arms behind you, and then you're going to reach toward the first touchdown, the first part of the object that you're gonna double Kong over. You're gonna get your chest relatively close to it, and then you're going to kind of push up and away to get more height. Not specifically like the opposite direction, but kind of at an angle. Notice when I make contact with it, my arms are bent, and then I push off of it by straightening my arms to get a bit more height. And then as you're pushing away from it, you're gonna try to get your hips above your chest. And then once you get your hips above your chest and you're fully pushing up and you're basically in the air, you're gonna straighten out your legs as you reach toward the second part of the object that you want to double Kong over. So as you're touching the second part of the object, then your whole body should be completely straight. If you have kind of bent legs, then you probably won't be able to kind of execute the second part of the double Kong that well. So remember to really extend your whole body as you're reaching towards the second part of the object. Okay, so let's go over it again. You're gonna get a good amount of speed, and then you're going to do a gather step takeoff. As you're doing the gather step takeoff, your arms are gonna be behind you, and then you're going to place your hands on the first part of the object, and then as you're placing your hands, you wanna get your chest relatively close, and then as you start leaving the ground, you're going to push up, which is gonna help you get your hips up, and then that means you should be relatively in the air at this point, so you're in this position, and then as you're reaching towards the second part of the object, you're going to extend your feet to just get full extendability. I don't even know what that means, but whatever. Then you should be in this position as you touch the second part of the object, and then you're gonna pull your legs through, and then be awesome and land it perfectly. And now that you have a general idea about what all the steps you need to do for the technique, now it's the second part of the tutorial. Common things people do wrong and how to correct it. So as I said before, a common problem is people using a punch takeoff instead of a gather step. And this is a problem because if you punch, you can't get your chest close enough to the object to get a good push off of it. Another problem with punching, at least in the real world on concrete and things like that, punching will probably help in a gymnastics gym like with a spring floor, but in this case, punching will not help also because it only gives you height. It stops a lot of your forward momentum, which is what you want if you're going to be doing a double Kong. The advanced gather step helps you still go up, but also forward just as much. So really focus on remembering to do a gather step. Okay, so the second problem is not being able to use this second part and kind of just tapping it instead of actually pushing off of it and getting power from it. Okay, so a good progression to kind of get the feeling of how you want to be pushing off of that first hand placement is if you have a good area where there's stairs or some type of incline, just do this progression. So you're going to eventually go into handstand, but you're going to walk up the stairs, and then you're going to place your hands, and then you're going to throw your feet up, and then do a small hop into another handstand. So it's going to look like this. Because that, for the most part, is what a double Kong is. You're basically doing a Kong into a handstand, except you're pulling your legs through. And the last common thing I see a lot of people do wrong is just when they're reaching toward the second hand placement, they don't fully extend their legs, which isn't a huge problem. You just won't be able to reach your max distance because as you're extending these legs, you're kind of reaching farther out also. And those are the most common things I see people do wrong. The first part, doing the takeoff improperly. The second part, pushing off of the first hand placement. And lastly, not extending your legs. Once again, the extending your legs isn't as important, but just something you might want to correct earlier in your learning, I guess. So that ends part 2, which leads us on to the final part of this tutorial, overcoming the fear of the move. So let's get to it. Okay, so the first progression for double kongs is to get dive kongs very comfortably. The second progression, just to get the feeling of it, is the progression that I said before. Now you could do this progression on just flat ground, but I think it would just be a bit harder to push off properly, but it can be done. Now it's important when you're doing this progression that you bend your arms on that first hand placement and push up off of the ground. You don't want to keep your arms just completely straight because you're trying to work up to a double kong, which requires bending your arms and then pushing up off of the object. This final progression will be most useful for people who are scared that on the second hand placement, they're scared that they won't be able to bring their legs through and they'll clip the object and go tumbling down. So that's going to be one of the scarier progressions, but it'll definitely help when you want to commit to the full double kong. So as always, let's do a quick visual overview. First, you're going to do a gather step takeoff, and then once your hands touch the first part of the object, you're going to push against it to get a little bit more height and to get your hips above your chest. Then, as you reach your hands toward the second part of the object, you're going to extend your legs completely. Finally, once your hands do touch the second part of the object, you're going to do the rest like a regular kong vault, or dive kong. And that is everything I have for you on this tutorial. I really hope it helped. If it did, please remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And you should also ring the notification bell button, because I don't even know what, because I'm making this video like a week early. That's how much I love you guys. Anyway, I will see you in the next one. PK person out. Have a good day. Bye.